Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm in Chicago at Eden Garden and I'm gonna work on this beautiful limber pine, Pinus flexilis. Limber pine is a 5-needle pine native of US, especially in the Rockies. Beautiful bluish color of the foliage, very similar to our European 5-needle pine, and also the character of the trunk with this kind of a gray bark is very similar, and also we can really find a lot of similarities with the Japanese 5-needle pines that grows in a very high elevation in the mountain of Japan. This particular specimen has a lot of nice gin, and also, as we will see, some beautiful shari in the trunk that are still hiding under the dead bark. It's very important to clean this area, see very well the trunk line, see very well all the details before making decisions about the front, the angle, and whatever we're gonna remove to create our future bonsai. I'm using here my triple blade knife to remove some of the old bark, insisting on top of a dead area. I don't want that bark to make the deadwood start rotting, and I use my knife to clean very precisely this area, also in order to highlight this particular twist of deadwood that probably happened because the tree was growing against a rock that caused the dieback of the entire part of the trunk in the base of the tree. This part can become a beautiful feature for my future bonsai. Before making any decision, I want to check on the trunk because I see some area where the bark was lifting up, so I find out that there was a big dead area in this part of the trunk, and I clean everything nicely. Probably this area was growing against a rock in nature. I also lift up the tree to see a little bit the transition of the trunk. This helped me to have a clear idea about the front I want to pick. The trunk line is very interesting, very nice, with a lot of transition. But then we have this problem, in this point, basically the trunk separate into basically two parts that are equally visually strong. This area that has very long branches, and this section that is a little bit more compact with some nicer and compact branches and a good transition up here. So I was looking around trying to find the best front, eventually thinking to remove one, to remove the other, and eventually just keep the compact part, or to try to match and have both together. It's a big challenge. Sometimes in nature, this type of pine that grow in very high elevation has these spiky trunks with multiple apexes, so it could be an idea, but we're gonna always have this competition between these trunk line. I always like to choose the leader of my transition between the base and the apex. This could be an interesting front with the transition of the trunk up to this line and the nice and compact part here, even removing this section and just trying to create a more compact tree. I feel it's a pity to lose this transition because it's typical on this tree to be nice, high and tall, but obviously the base is a little bit weak because probably the tree was growing against a slab in nature, so it bumped out, creating almost this pigeon breast. So from the other front, we have a very strong base, beautiful transition, nice focal point here in the area that was covered by bark. Transition up always to this right branch with nice and compact foliage. This could be ginned and eventually moved back to create one of these nice tangent with a lot of deadwood, and then the tree can slightly move to the right, creating almost the feeling of the wind in the mountain coming from the valley and killing one side of the tree and the other side stays alive. So I'm gonna remove and sacrifice this branch and then start working on the foliage. I just finished to create the gene of the tree, so you can already appreciate the transition between the base, the first section of the trunk, and then the second section that will become the apex of my future bonsai. It's amazing how this type of tree, limber pine, is very similar to Japanese five-needle pine. It's a five-needle pine, very bluish color, and also look like in Europe we have a Pinus sembra, that is another five-needle pine family tree. We also have on the sembra this kind of a yellowish cambium on the tree. Some interesting thing on the branches is called Pinus flexilis because the fine branches are extremely flexible, but don't think the big branches are as flexible as you think about because they break very easily. You can see from the gene they are basically, most of them, the old gene, they are flat cut because the wood snap when it's under extreme pressure. So young wood, super flexible, young branches, super flexible, but old branches not at all. So another interesting particularity is that looking at the branch, we can see little rings along the length of the branch. So these are the elongation of every year, so we can basically count the years that the branch grew, and this is a particularity in Europe we have on mugo pine. So looking at branch close, we can see all year after year the new growth coming. So a branch like this can easily be 20 years old. To imagine how old can be a tree like this coming from the Rockies. just finished taking care of the deadwood, creating the beautiful gin, a little bit of transition with this shadi connecting the old deadwood and the new deadwood, cleaning up and putting some cut paste to protect the edge of the living part at the base of this beautiful twist of deadwood that we have as a focal point at the base. And now I can start with the wiring, cleaning and setting the different heads, the different layers of the green to really frame this beautiful movement. You need to be careful when you wire this type of pine. You need to be gentle because if you push too much the wire, it will tend to go inside of the cambium, because the cambium, as you can see, is very thick. So the finer branches are soft. So we need to be very careful when we wire the branches, not to pull the wire too much, otherwise we already scare the cambium and we damage, and then the tree will lose a lot of sap. When I style a tree, my goal is always to use the green and the branches as a beautiful frame for the trunk line. So for me, the trunk line is always the major subject of the bonsai composition. I start from the lower branch and work my way up to the top, creating lines, geometry, spaces and rhythm. This is very important, especially when we work on conifer, to create a nice and clean design to really focus to the trunk line and then consequentially to all the focal points of the tree. The directionality of this tree is towards the right part. That's why I'm using the first branch and also some upper branches like the one I'm wiring now to increase this directionality and obviously create a nice, beautiful shape that can really match with this elegant trunk line that the tree have. I set the branches, put the little shoot in position, creating line, cleaning whatever is not necessary, and at the end trying to create a nice and round apex. That is always the apical part of a very old tree, like happen in nature when a tree almost lose the apical dominance and the top is quite nice and round. And here we are setting the last few details with the final product. here we are at the end of this journey with this beautiful pine. I'm very satisfied about the work. I think the tree look very nice and very dynamic with this beautiful base, very impressive, big focal point, the transition up to the main trunk, the position of the branches, counterbalancing the beautiful gene that we create with the original living trunk that, in my opinion, add a lot of character to the composition. And then, as you could see, I spent a little time to create a nice pad, nice line, to create this rhythm between the green masses to really highlight the beautiful trunk. So I hope you enjoyed this video. See you at the next. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you like it. And if you want to know more about my work, send me an email to get my bonsai book, Bonsai Dream. Thank you.